If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
Hi, everyone. It's Melanie Johnson. All right. The newest, latest, greatest thing that one of the main reasons you're here in the summit is to learn about NFTs, how NFTs are going to affect the publishing industry. And we have with us James Factor, who has started the first NFT publishing company, which is called Book Vaults. And he is going to walk us through what he's doing. We're going to explain what an NFT is and stay tuned for a wild ride. Thanks, James, for coming today.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So tell us a little bit how you got started in publishing and how that morphed into the NFT space.
So I got into publishing. I came into a digital publishing house in the UK called Loom Books. And so I was dealing with ebooks and audio, since the start. And then a few months ago, I guess like everyone else, I started to hear more about NFTs. And me and my housemate actually started talking about ideas of, what we could do with that, because his background is tech and entrepreneurship as well. So we just thought there's something here in the publishing world, I think, because the music and art world and the film world had all done huge amounts, and it didn't seem like publishing had done a lot. So, that was the starting point really for our discussion.
Well, let's start, people, since only 5% of the planet really knows what an NFT is. Excuse me, give me your version of what an NFT is.
Well, my version is an NFT. Well, it stands for is non-fungible token. And I guess that in a nutshell means that it's a token that can't be, it's unique, it's one of a kind, and it links to a digital asset, which you can't destroy, you can't hack it, you can't trade it, in a sense that, for example, so 2 £5 notes or 2 $5 notes, you can trade it for a $10 note. So that's fungible. An NFT is non-fungible. There's no replica out there. And it links up to all kinds of digital assets. So videos, it could be images, it could be audio work, anything online you can find, you can link it to a NFT token, and that makes it sort of unique. And that token we can only start to do that now really because of the rise of blockchain, which is another buzzword that people have been talking about, which is kind of the next evolution of the web, is what people are describing it as. Whereas before, the website was lots of code floating around all over the place, and anyone could access a website code if you sent it to a friend. Blockchain only lets someone with the key get into that code. So it's allowing people to be more exclusive with content, and it is sort of reversing this trend of the web becoming sort of the Wild West in terms of anyone can hack into anything. It's kind of reversing that trend.
So did you need someone to do the code for you? I mean, I'm a publisher, you're a publisher, but I don't know how to do code. So how do you have to try? Do you think someone can figure out how to do that themselves, or they really should hire someone to do that?
That's a good question, because actually I don't do the coding stuff myself. It's a friend of mine who really got into it and started to research the best way to do it. I think it is, it's not that easy, especially if you don't have a kind of, basic tech background, but it's also not the hardest thing to get up to speed with. So the stages behind it. I think most people could get to a stage where they could mint, the word is minting, they could mint their own NFTs in the future. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I'm wanting to do this. How do I actually buy one?
So there's a couple of stages to even getting to the buying stage. The main marketplace at the moment, the kind of the eBay for NFTs, is a place called OpenSea. And OpenSea is doing incredibly well at the moment because a lot of artists and film people and anyone interested in NFTs, collectibles, are going to OpenSea, and they are auctioning their products on this website. So if you are interested in owning an NFT, you can go there. There are others out there as well, but it's the main kind of springboard. and you have to set up your own crypto wallet. Now, a crypto wallet is it's just a secure kind of bank, online bank that only you can access. Like any bank, really, you've got codes to get in there, but it's incredibly secure, and it is the place where you can then access the kind of the blockchain from, and you can store your assets in the wallet. You can trade assets through your wallet. Basically, everything comes through this wallet. And it's a little tricky to get set up. And there are quite a few options out there for which kind of company you go through to set up the wallet. But a bit of research, you can get over that hurdle pretty quickly. And then once you've got that, you can go into any NFT auction site and you can start to bid for different assets. And you will have to convert some dollars or pounds or currency into a cryptocurrency to purchase at the moment. I don't think there's an option to buy through pounds and dollars at the moment, but I think there will be shortly. But for now, it's something like Ethereum, which is the kind of the currency of the blockchain at the moment. And then you put the bid in through Ethereum, and that has a exchange rate like any other currency. So you can just convert it back and forth in your wallet and keep it all, on there.
Really, you think that you're going to be able to buy NFTs with dollars and not cryptocurrency down the way?
I mean, this is just what I've kind of started to find in researching it. Either it will be it will be possible either through modifications with Ethereum and blockchain, or, for example, when we get onto Book Vaults talking about that, we will make the conversion for the kind of the reader, so they don't have to get into the whole crypto scene. We will have the exchange rate, and then we will make the trade and just pay royalties or the auction amount in a currency, of their choice.
But doesn't that I want to talk about that. That would seem kind of dicey to me, because crypto is so volatile that you're making the exchange at a certain rate. And by the time that it launches or does something, crypto just went down. Like Ethereum went from 4,700 3 weeks ago, that I think it's like at 3,700 today. So isn't that kind of chancy or dicey proposition?
I mean, with Book Vaults, the company, when we start to buy into the crypto scene, I think that we're backing basically that it's here for the long haul. And I know that I think we'll play it, by ear when we get up to speed with really doing these things en masse. But for now, we'll judge that again later. But we're obviously backing the whole concept from the start. So we would also back everything that goes with it, with Ethereum and Ether. I know it is volatile. There are question marks which we can discuss around it, but I do think that, there are modifications coming with the technology. I think it's only going to get more secure as it goes on, in a similar way to, Bitcoin was, no one really understood that now, and it's becoming far more secure than people thought it would ever be at the start. So I think Ethereum and other currencies will come that way as well.
Yeah. Talk about smart contract, because that's all part of the process, and we haven't touched on that yet. What is the smart contract?
Well, to my knowledge, the smart contract side of it is once the token has been created and the purchase goes through, your wallet that you've created has its own ledger, essentially, on the blockchain, where it will make the digital signature, and that signature it's irrefutable and it's linked entirely to your wallet. So in a sense, that is the smart contract exchange that happens. There's no paperwork involved between two companies or two bodies. It's just a decentralized process. So there's kind of an egalitarian feel to Ethereum and the blockchain, in a sense that it's allowing people to get outside of, I guess, lawyers or just the legal system, in a sense that there's a ledger, on blockchain that will track everything that happens, and you can't really question it, and it's there for all of time, basically.
All right. So walk us through. We now know, what an NFT is, non-fungible token. We know how to buy one. We know the contract that comes with it. So explain to us what you're doing with Book Vault, of how your program, and walk us through what you're doing with the book to make it an NFT and the types of books that you're doing.
So to start with, so Book Vaults is basically just all those products I mentioned earlier, those assets. We want to make a book into a digital asset. So the thinking behind it was, at the moment we have obviously ebooks and we have Kindle, and the supply of those ebooks are unlimited, in the sense that if you buy on Amazon now, you're always going to get that ebook into your Kindle reader. So, but in a sense, that also kind of makes it slightly worthless outside of the Kindle, because if that went down, that system, you don't have a record of really owning the digital asset. So Book Vaults is promoting the idea that this is a consumable product which you can actually own for yourself through the ledger. And the concept is that people will start to own and actually read digital first editions, we like to call them, of books, new books, old books, basically anything that's been written, we can turn it into this system. And we are working with a lot of indie authors at the moment. We're speaking to the big publishing houses as well about how we can help them out with their books. And I think people have really different value assumptions based on what they're trying to do. So an indie author with, a lot of readers who are very loyal to that author, they can give input into what they want to see in the NFT book. And you can add in all kinds of benefits that you couldn't do with ebook before. So you can add in audio content, you can have video, you can have a link to the author, to have certain chats with them at certain times of the year. It's kind of just turning a fan, is giving them all the things they ever wanted with their favorite author, basically. And we would mint however many we think would work, so either 10 or 100, and then the fans can decide what they want to see within that edition. So that's how it works for indie authors. And with larger publishing houses, a lot of them have a lot of big estates from the past. So all of the classics will be linked to these publishing houses, and you can add in a lot of original content from the actual author's written hand, their notes. You can see what they were writing letters at the time. You can scan this all in and make that into an NFT copy as well, and allow people to buy that. So there's a couple of different options there to really help out readers as well.
So some of that would be in the smart contract, like handwritten things. You're getting the book, and then you're going to get the handwritten notes from an author, or a video, personalized video, or different, like a special bonus content. I have a question kind of on the technical side. So when I buy an ebook, I can read it on any device because it's Kindle. So if I'm buying a book through an NFT, is it just going to be, if it's all the content of the book, is it just going to be a PDF, which is not available on all of my devices? I mean, I'd have to download it, and I mean, it's not flowable where you can keep track of where you left off in the book. What exactly are they getting?
Well, so we are looking to design the Reader app for the NFT books of the future. So with that, you wouldn't be able to, so with a Kindle reader, if you had a Kobo reader or another reader, like a PDF format or EPUB will work on any of those. And for now, we're using those kind of documents for our technology. So the code is linking to a PDF or an EPUB file, but we want to have a place where readers can actually store these books, and they'll be able to work as kind of assets separately from the website. So you can keep them there and walk around with them and read them. And so conceptually, it's not too different from an ebook, really, but it's more that you actually own the book, and you can prove that you own it through the smart contract. And also you can add in lots of different bonuses, really, that other readers can't necessarily get. And you can have, like introductions from the author, or even bonus chapters or bonus stories within a deluxe, kind of like a deluxe edition that we're creating.
Would you make all the deluxe editions the same? Like you'd have 10 deluxe editions and they all have the same thing? Or you're thinking you'd do 10 and each edition would have something separate?
That's kind of up to what the author or the publisher would like to do with what they're working with. With the authors we've spoken to, because it's new at the moment, and we don't really know what the response is going to be from readers when we actually go with this into auction. So for now, we've just gone with obviously the main manuscript, an introduction from the author, a bonus story, a map of the world. And actually a large part of this, which we haven't even talked about, is working with artists to come up with illustrations and designs. So we're including unique artworks of the characters, the main characters from the book. So we're just doing 3 editions, that's it. And each one will have one of the characters that we've commissioned to be created. So it is really a kind of golden ticket book that won't exist in any other format. It's available for one person. And the other thing we haven't even talked about is the resale value as well. So because of the smart contract ledger you've got, if in the future that fan who gets the book wants to resell it to another fan who wants to maybe pay more, or they want to trade it, that's all completely possible. And it doesn't need any, interference. That secondary market can run by itself, and the author will be getting payments on those resales. So it's fantastic for the author, really, because they'll be getting, in our model, they're getting 80% of anything that gets sold through this format. And then they're getting 10% of every resale after that. So it's really kind of reversing the trend, of author profits, I guess, so far. And we think the technology really works in that sense, because fans can show that they really support an author can speak to their fans about what they want. So it builds up that community, but also you're getting an asset which, may appreciate in value in the future. It may become more valuable over time. You just don't know where it's going to go.
I want to back up just a little bit, because you had talked about the app. So you're saying really right now, there's nowhere that someone can house that book or keep it somewhere. It's really just your digital asset that you have that you keep, and it'll just be like an EPUB file that they would download and open up and read it and download it on their devices. So it's not like they could have multiple of those and put them in a library at this point, like you have your Kindle library, but you're saying that could be down in the future where there's an app built that will allow them to do that.
Yeah. So, hopefully if all goes to plan, then March of next year, they will have that. So we are in the real middle stages of developing that library, that vault, as we like to kind of think of it, where readers can have all kinds of different NFT books in their collection. But for now, it's, the auction's going ahead prior to that, because all you need is the code will lead to the EPUB, and in any other, as a web domain, any other web search you would do, it appears when you click on the token. But the difference is if you send that token to a friend, it wouldn't work for them on their domain. It only works on your wallet that's linked up to your computer. So it's a little confusing to get your head around, but it reads and looks exactly like an EPUB PDF. We'll look to make modifications and improve the experience when we launch our app. But for now, it's completely readable as it is. The difference is it is entirely yours, and it's irrefutably your edition.
You'd mentioned about audiobooks. Do you see audiobooks tied to this? Do you see audiobooks sold separately as an NFT or tied in with the EPUB?
I think absolutely. The way that we want to create it in the future is to have all kinds of content that comes with the token. And then when you buy the token and it goes onto your Reader app in your wallet, you can then have selection choices for what you want to look at. So you can sort of look at the map. You can have a button that has listen to the audio now, read the book, read the intro, the live link to the author's discussion points. We want to include as many options as possible within that one token. And then it's kind of spread out for the reader or the owner to be able to pick what format they want to look at the time.
Do you see physical books tied to an NFT? Like here you're getting the digital and then you have the physical. So the physical would have to be mailed out to them. But then if someone resells it, the other person's going to have to send them that physical book. I think there might be, I don't know how that works.
That's what I think the issue is with that. So, we did actually have a discussion forum last week with this author's fans about what they wanted to see. And they did suggest that an actual physical book would, kind of sweeten the deal, as it were, with any purchase of an NFT in the future in the early stages. I can see how that, would be more appealing to a reader. But I think, as you just said, it gets tricky down the line with that smart contract. It's still alluring back to, print publishing, which we, in some spirit, we are similar to that, because we like to think of ourselves as a first edition publisher, but we don't want to really have any kind of paper paperback involved in the future. I think we want to push it into whatever the technology, wherever it will take us in the future. I think it will become more immersive and as an experience. I think it will become more collaborative with authors and artists getting involved.
Mhm.
So I think I'd like to move it away from, any lingering connections to the print industry.
I think Gary Vaynerchuk, he did something where if you buy X amount of books, then you got a chance, I think, to win one of his NFTs, which were totally separate from the book, had nothing to do with the book.
That's a clever way of doing it. Yeah, that makes more sense, I think, to get people into the NFT world. I can see how that makes sense.
Yeah, so then they get the chance to bid on one of the NFTs, because I think that's kind of the tricky thing. What else do you see as an author giving away in the smart contract?
I mean, I think, yeah, so depending on, I think with indie authors and, larger branded authors that have a real following in that space, I think that it's really about, I guess, the content that they possibly couldn't have, given through traditional publishing. And that's not to, that's nothing, a slight on traditional publishing at all, because they have to hit their targets. They've only got so much room within a book to do that. I think we're seeing it already with authors in this space, not through NFTs, but just they're experimenting with different ways of getting content out there to their readers, which doesn't necessarily have to be through the most traditional routes. So we've seen Salman Rushdie's done it with Substack, and he's announced his new book is going to be through that, and it's going to be serialized and newslettered out to subscribers. So this is kind of a continuation of the idea that authors can have a lot more freedom with what they want to include. So it'll really be very personable to what they are thinking and what they felt maybe got missed out in the first, edit, or alternative endings that they had in mind that they never used. So because people want to know, I think, about their favorite authors and what they were thinking and the process behind it. For me, I mean, I think the audio and the maps and the artwork, I think, enhance the experience, and it's very valuable. But actually, the real value is there's content there which isn't anywhere else, and only certain owners of the token will be able to look at that content for the first time. And I think that's an exciting idea to build upon.
Well, since NFTs are so new, like we mentioned, I think only 5% of the population, maybe it's a little more now over the last 6 months, maybe it's up to 10%, really know what an NFT is, know how to purchase one, and are interested in doing it and have the tolerance for the cryptocurrency and the blockchain. How do you market this to get people to want to buy it and have enough excitement going to get people through the process to buy these NFTs as books?
Yeah, I think carefully is the one word answer. Because I think that there has been not a favorable reaction to the idea that people might be trying to turn, literary worlds or fantasy worlds into a kind of game. And the one side of NFT world and crypto world is metaverse world. And I think that people, as incredibly powerful an idea as the metaverse can be in the next few years, I think that readers just want to read a book. They don't want to be toyed with and brought into, I think, either a set domain where they have to subscribe to certain rules, or that's trying to turn them into something they're not. So I think, the way that we're doing it at Book Vaults is, like I said, digital first edition, is that you lead publishing first and you don't lead tech first. So you have to explain why the tech is backing up the idea that we think is valuable. And the idea we think is valuable is that you can bring authors and readers together more closely, and you can allow more freedom for authors, and you can create different forms of content through this. It's not about trying to build up an NFT empire and lead through the crypto side of it. So I think that's very important, and we wanted to do that. And we also wanted to make sure that an NFT in this sense is actually a consumable product. It's actually something to be consumed. It's not there to be just looked at. It's not an artwork or anything else. We want to make this functionable for the readers. So that's what we want to lead with, and we think that's where the real value for this is. And moving into this space is solving issues, as I've mentioned already, with author kind of representation in some ways, but then also you can use this in a way, for example, as a pre-order rather than going through print. And we know how temperamental print can be and getting it done in time and the wastage there is with that. This is just another way of, bringing out content earlier than the main ebook or the main paperback. It's not there to try and cannibalize other areas of the publishing industry. And I think that the rise of the ebook's kind of shown that actually there's no reason why these things can't coexist with each other. So we're not trying to take over the digital space, because Kindles work incredibly well. If you want that quick read and you want to move on to something on holiday, you're going to get a Kindle. You're not going to get an NFT book. So there's that element to it as well. I think it's just reassuring people this is, part of it, but it's not the whole story.
And getting them their heads wrapped around why they want to buy it versus, something else. Is it worth it? I think the younger demographic is going to be moving into that space more than the older demographic. Someone that's maybe 40 or 50 plus, that's hard. They don't even understand cryptocurrency, let alone to buy something as an NFT. And have you seen this to be gender specific at all? That more males are interested in NFT books than females, or females versus males? Do you see anything interested in that? Or even from the author perspective, are you seeing more female or male authors that are more excited about making their book into an NFT?
I think again, as you say, this is still a very new area and there aren't many people to really speak about this with at the moment. But when we've mentioned the concept and got people's heads around it, the interest we found has actually been pretty evenly split with men and women. I don't see, a gender bias in that sense from the reader side of it. And from initial kind of author interest that we've had, I guess a bit more male. Yeah, that would be fair. But again, I think that's just because it's such a new area, I think. And for better or for worse, tech world is a male heavy space at the moment. And the more it moves into the publishing world, which is not male heavy, then I think that balance will readdress itself when authors start to find that out. Yeah.
So I heard you talk about the public domain. Have you published an NFT book yet?
Yeah, we have. And it was a public domain book. So we went with Robinson Crusoe as our first sort of test case study, because we just thought it's considered the first kind of novel in the English language. And we just thought it'd be nice to get the first sort of NFT version of that first novel prepared, and just to see how the thing read and get a feel for the process of making it and also of selling it. And things went well with it and we're very happy with it. So we moved on to speaking to authors and publishers about getting theirs done as well.
I like it that you tested the market yourself. So how many did you mint of Robin Crusoe's book?
We just minted one, I believe. Yes, I think we did. And we went to auction with one of one. And that's the thinking behind the next auction we're going to do. But then when we move into next year of Q1, we'll look to expand that to include 10 or 100 editions of each book, depending on the the author's readership. Yeah.
And I take it someone bought the first one, right? Someone purchase one, or is it still available and we can promote that they can go out and get it?
We did have a few bids. I think we decided just to keep hold of it because I think they weren't. I think we just wanted to know the process worked and that people would be interested in this in theory, and they were. So I think we just said, well, we'll set a minimum amount for this, and we'll just say it didn't hit it, which it didn't really get to the value that we thought it could be worth maybe at some point in the future. But it's interesting, the public domain side of it is conceptually, there's more, I think, debate about doing that, because obviously things like, the internet's been very good at actually spreading classics like that, the literacy of Gutenberg and projects like that. We don't want to really start to kind of ring fence public domain books in that way. Although if there are elements to a new edition that I think can improve it, then it might be worth doing that and making, fans of maybe more contemporary authors like George Orwell or Tolkien or some of these other domains. There's a lot of material which readers and fans probably won't have even seen George Orwell's notes for 1984 or something, for example. and it's available, but it's very hard to actually get hold of those notes to look at. And if you can create an NFT version which can take you through page by page what is going on, I think that's actually got real value to it. I think that is adding something to the public domain space. So that's definitely a project that we're looking at very carefully, because we think that could be, a great idea for enhancing those public domain books.
So where do you think an author should start? Like they're like, okay, I'm in, I want to do a book as an NFT. What should be the first thing they should start to map out for themselves?
I think they can, start off by just looking at, I guess, now that they know the kinds of things that other authors are doing with NFTs, is whether that appeals to them to start with. There's no point just NFTing your book if it's basically just going to be the same as the ebook that you can get on Kindle. So, there's no point going down that road. It's whether there was something that they wanted to say or they want to offer. If they want to get closer with their fan base, it's a great way to actually speak to fans that you might have following you on social media or your newsletter. And that would be the starting point, I think, is saying, look, I'm looking into this. I don't want to antagonize you in any way by creating something like this. Let me know what you think and what you'd like to see in a version of it, and go from there and see what the feedback is and test the water.
That sounds like great advice. And all right, one last question. We've talked a lot about NFTs and the future of that segment. Where do you see the rest of the publishing industry going in the future?
Yeah, obviously, the NFT world, I think it will be prominent within publishing in some formats. And I think that as pricing goes down for it and it becomes more sustainable, as you said, I think it can be a real growth point for the future. But to be honest, I think the publishing industry in general is in a really healthy place. It's done very well over the last couple of years during the pandemic. I know print has suffered a bit more, but digital formats have done well, and even print's coming back now stronger than ever. So I think that we'll see that growth continue. Audio, I think, is just going to keep growing as well. And yeah, just seeing authors taking more chances with how they, distribute content and speak to fans, and the technology's there now for them to experiment. So they should go out and do it.
All right. Thanks so much, James. And thanks for coming. What a great interview.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Melanie, for having me as well.